Hi, and welcome today to the Intellectual Adventure Podcast. We're joined by Chad, Jeff, SirToeNail, and myself as we dive into today's subject, the discussion on animals around the world. What would you love to be and why? If, you theoretically could live a day in an animal's body. We'll go with that theory just to keep it streamlined. So what should we do that supports these animals as well? The ecosystems and the whole biology of life around those animals and the other animals that affect them. How can we affect change in a positive way to help preserve that life? So that's what today's subject is bringing us together on. And on this Mother's Day, we hope that you have a great day and are able to enjoy your time with family and the life around. As it's a beautiful thing to admire these different animals and their unique tendencies and skills to incorporate a healthy environment to life. Animals play an important role to the development of the world. Incorporating some priority to talking about it is important too, as humans. So I applaud you guys for showing up and wanting to be part of this discussion today. How are you guys all doing? Jen?
I'm doing really well. I'm out here visiting with my mom out here, but I'm excited about this topic because I really do love animals as well, and I'm really excited to get to speak on it because I've got a really good one in mind that I know a lot about, so I'm excited.
How about you, Tonio? Glad to see you joining us today.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for the invite. And yeah, I'm having a good day, just chilling out and seeing how it goes.
Would you care to give the audience a little bit of an introduction of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I don't mind at all. My name's SirToeNail. I'm Scottish. I run a Chivalry 2 Discord where we do events for the game, and I try to help other Discords grow and stuff like that. And yeah, I've known Camo for a little bit through the Discord, and it's just good to be here. Yeah, I'm a little unprepared, so just trying to take it as it comes.
No, you're just prepared enough. Showing up is half the battle.
Yeah.
Jeff, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Just getting in the groove and finished up 6 weeks of Fire Academy, 6 weekends, 6 Saturdays. So it's nice to have my Saturdays back.
Yeah, I bet, man. That's definitely a lot of work to be volunteering for fire department in this time of year.
Yeah, I'm not a firefighter. I just help the firefighters.
Yeah, it's important though.
Yeah,
auxiliary roles are important.
Yeah. There were a couple of the students that overexerted themselves and had to do a little sit out, blood pressure, oxygen, that kind of thing.
At least people are trying hard.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and roll into the comments and kind of see what's going on with the vinyl world today. Jeff's going to be introducing us to a new vinyl we haven't seen on this show. So, Jeff, what do you have for us today?
For vinyl, I have Jean-Luc Ponty, Open Mind.
I do like how they have the clouds in the text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how clouds used to look in '84. And if you could read the back, those are the songs.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I see Solitude there.
Open Mind, Solitude, Watching Birds. So this fits in today's topic because one of the songs is Watching Birds. And I wish I could put it on in the background while we chat.
Yeah. Just need to get yourself a good little scan of that and get a nice MP3 player.
Yeah, I've got a MP3 video recorder, but I don't have it hooked up right now. And the last song, in case you couldn't read it, was Intuition.
Yeah, I definitely didn't read that.
Yeah, that one was kind of fuzzy on the
It
bottom.
was a little fuzzy. But no, thanks for sharing that, Jeff.
Yeah, it's a little rock and roll-ish. But it's not heavy rock and roll. It's more, spiritual rock and roll from the 80s.
Yeah.
I got to check that out as a genre. Spiritual rock and roll. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Not Christian rock, spiritual rock. It's different, I assume.
Kind of like a subgenre.
Yeah.
Because you got the heavy rock, you got the headbanging rock, and then you got, like, I don't know, what's a good example? ABBA.
Yeah.
That is actually pretty
ABBA,
good.
good. Yeah.
ABBA, yeah.
I grew up listening to ABBA, Meatloaf,
That was
all
one
that
of my
stuff.
One of my
I have-
first tapes, yeah.
I keep both, or I keep two ABBA CDs in my truck for if I run out of cell and something goes
For
wrong and I
emergencies.
need my music. I'm just gonna put in my ABBA CD.
It's peaceful,
Sometimes you just get to put on Dancing Queen and
It's uplifting, relaxing, and rejuvenating. I like ABBA.
I like ABBA as well. I don't know why they get such a hard time.
Yeah.
I think people just don't like to admit they like ABBA. That's the problem.
Yeah. Personal affliction.
Yep.
Well, I would like to move us forward because today being Mother's Day, I don't want us to dwell too much before we get into our conversation. So let's move into engagement outpost. Now, Chad, I know you mentioned earlier you have a book you brought with you today.
Yeah, so this is a sort of a wildlife field guide that I've read quite a bit. We actually keep it here at this cabin so that because there's a lot of wildlife that walks around out here.
Hold on 1 second. Go ahead and show us that book one more time.
Yeah.
There we go. It was
Nice.
mirrored, so.
Try to get
Oh,
the
that's
glare off.
perfect.
There it is.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
anyone
it's
interested, that is a really cool book.
Yeah, it's really good and descriptive about the animals we have out here in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, and there's a lot of wildlife out at this cabin, so I've had this book for a long time, and I decided to keep it out here so that if we had guests out here and they saw an animal or they were interested in that stuff, they could look into it, do their own research. But I like to sit down and read this while I drink coffee. It's got really nice visuals. It's really fun to. I really enjoyed because at a certain point I was living out of my truck, living in the woods, and I had that book on me for a while, and I would just look at track animals. It's really fun to. It's a lot more fun than you would imagine to immerse yourself into that natural world and to learn about it and to observe it. It's really kind of a one of a kind experience at this point. It's become less prevalent.
Yeah.
No, truly. I actually I can't remember entirely what I did to get this grant, but I won like some sort of contest, and I was able to go to a bookstore and like cash out $20. So
Nice.
I found this book. Wait, am I mirrored? Hold on. I am mirrored. So
Oh, nice.
it's a field guide to insects and spiders.
Yeah, I have the Mammalia version of that book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay.
$20 well spent. That's a good one.
No, this is actually a really cool book. They have all sorts of stuff. It's really small text, unfortunately. It's like glossy stuff, but
Yeah.
I have you see all my sticky notes on top, man. And they're all divided into subgroups. So
Nice.
like I have like caterpillars in here. See nymphs and like larvae have leaf-like insects, earwigs of silverfish, stuff like that.
Nice.
So there's all sorts of good documentation for species of North America.
I was about to say, is that more for Pacific Northwest? Is it like
yeah,
sweet?
Yeah. Well, not Pacific Northwest. Actually, just fully North America.
Okay.
So
okay. So it is like the whole shebang.
The whole continent. Oh man, yeah. That's why I'm near my camera.
We're lucky over here in the UK. We don't get too many crazy insects like you guys or other places do, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
No, it's nuts. There's hold on. Yeah, there's some good pictures in here too of stuff, but this book covers 600 species, so it's packed.
That's cool. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Toenail, because that's sort of something I notice about Oregon too, is that Oregon, as compared to other states in our country, it's like we don't have nearly the same kind of like prevalent bug. I can't say bug issue because bugs are bugs, but it's like Oregon's bugs are a lot more moderate. It's like they're not too big and there's not too many of them. They can get out of control sometimes, but that is one thing that I appreciate about living in Oregon.
I think the worst insect in Scotland is something called a midget, and they come out in summer and swarms just eat you alive, basically. I don't know the real name, but we call them midget.
These are some stoneflies.
Oh yeah,
oh, nice.
That one over here.
Yeah,
that's one thing that's nasty looking.
Yeah, it's funny. We get stoneflies up here in Oregon, and we use them. Yeah, mostly around the rivers because that's where they go through their metamorphosis. And so I know a lot about stoneflies because I track their hatching patterns to fly fish because I have flies that imitate those, and fish eat them up.
I was gonna say that's why I don't know about them as much, but I have seen them around water, so that makes sense.
Yeah, we have a huge actually on the Deschutes River. There's I should take you to it. You'd actually think it's really cool unless you think they're too creepy. But we have a huge salmon fly and golden stone hatch on the Deschutes River. It's one of the largest that happens, and it's this huge. I haven't hit that particular hatch in a while. But I used to fish it with my dad, and those salmon flies can get like that big. They're huge. They're big salmon flies, and the golden stones are a little smaller. I like to fish with golden stones. I felt like I caught more fish on the golden stones. Also, it's just easier to fish with a smaller fly. But going and seeing that hatch it's pretty interesting to see that many large insects, and they don't bite, they don't do anything weird, they just sort of fly around, but they'll land on you. It's like I've been fishing and have like 8 bugs all over me as I'm just like catching fish. Oh man. No,
it's usually a good sign of good vibrations if bugs land on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Except mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good vibrations. They want to suck it out you.
Hey, I have a question for you, Toenail.
Yeah?
Do you guys get bumblebees up there?
Yeah, we get bumblebees over here, yeah.
I had a feeling. They're pretty hardy, so.
Yeah. I say wasps are more common over here. You see wasps a lot more over here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we've got, that's the cool thing about this book is the bee section, you can see a lot of the native species that we have in the North American region. It's amazing how many types there are, but they look so similar. But yeah, insects and stuff are a whole, I mean, there's thousands of varieties on this planet.
Insects are a whole thing that I tend to overlook when I'm thinking about animals, because I tend to do a lot of research and a lot of stuff more into mammals and reptiles and things like that, and I kind of let insects go to the wayside, but I shouldn't because they're so interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love how all three of us have a different National Audubon book chilling out somewhere.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I don't think I've got one book in my house.
Oh man. Yeah, dude, they get heavy, but
yeah.
There is one more I found before.
Nice.
what people need to realise with insects is like, even look at little insects, you don't know how important that little thing is to the ecosystem, what it's doing. Some of them. I've never ever squished bugs or anything. I've always just sort of let them be unless like they're like coming right at you, then you sort of just go in defence mode. But
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah, I used to squish them more too when I was young, but then I just sort of stopped. I was like, that's kind of gross. I'm killing something. It's not necessary. Like you said, just live and let live.
What I said to my kids when I seen one of them do it, I was like, what would you think if a big person just came and squished on you?
Squish your whole family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As a kid, I pulled the flies off of wings off a fly once, and that was it. You know, it was one of those experiences like, man, that thing, I just screwed it up. Even though it was just a fly.
I think that's just a coming age thing. You learn what you're doing, then you realise, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Now I catch them and feed them to my, I have a Venus fly trap on my kitchen window, and I feed flies to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
that's a bit more humane, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good direction for flies to go, contributing to a really cool plant.
I think these fly traps are very cool. I've never ever seen one in like real life, which is quite sad, I guess.
You know what's cool, Toenail, is I was telling Chad about this. Fortunately, it's one of the areas that burnt in our fires in Plumas County, but I don't think it hit the full valley, or that it'll kill all those plants. But there's carnivorous plants in Northern California. Mm-hmm. And did you know about that, Jeff?
I had no idea before I heard from
I've seen the pitcher plants along the American River when I lived down in Carmichael.
Yeah, there's pitchers and Venus.
I did not run across any Venus flytraps, but they like the wetter, swampier land. They like their feet wet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pitcher plants that were up on the banks, and those were cool too. To find those.
I think this is my last book that I directly have for this. I think I just have an animal encyclopedia somewhere else, but this one's cool. Oh yeah, weird. Fix that again.
Nice. Oh, this is a cool book.
Yeah, this book is one that I really like. Because see, it's how many pages again? Yeah, 400. So
too many.
It's, the cool thing is they have really good illustrations.
Does that come in a pocket guide?
For dummies,
400 pages of pocket guide.
Oh man, yeah, it's so neat to be able to see the details of. But yeah, there's all sorts of things, and teaches you about knots and calculations and techniques.
One thing I've never really done myself is fishing either.
Well, are there any other resources right now that we want to share, or should we go ahead and move into the trial grounds today?
I'm happy to move on, yeah.
Good. You prepared, Jeff? I see your finger floating around down there.
No, I'm getting texts from the sport team.
Oh.
Everybody's wishing everybody a happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you are pretty motherly. Happy Mother's Day. Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move ourselves into. Oh! I meant.
Not yet.
That was a joke. Yeah, that was a joke. The trial ground. All right. You know what? I just have a feeling. Let's get it out, Chad. What's your special animal? I want to hear it. I'll be right back to him. Use the bathroom.
I am pretty sure that I've mentioned it before on this podcast, but it turned into a tangent. But my favorite animal. Well, okay, so I have two favorite animals that are kind of split. The one that I'll talk about today that makes more sense for our topic is bears. Specifically, I like grizzly bears, but if I were to be an animal, I'd probably black bears are cool. Grizzly bear, I think I'd be a grizzly bear. They're just so big. But
Yeah.
I don't know why I really like bears. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica, that kind of stuff. But it's something about because I also really enjoy evolution and natural selection and those sorts of concepts.
Yeah.
And so to me, bears are one of the most hilarious examples of an evolutionary niche being filled. Of just, okay, let's have a really big tanky animal that eats anything and sleeps and hibernates for a long time and is just huge and nothing will mess with it, and it just walks around. It's to me one of the most interesting evolutionary roles to fill, because they're hugely important for the ecosystem, but they're hugely important for the ecosystem by just doing their own thing all year. It's really interesting.
There's not many things in the animal kingdom that can actually match up with a bear.
It's true.
In that way either.
Yeah, and yet it's interesting that they both are and aren't an apex predator, because they're not an apex predator because they're not hugely they don't hugely predate on very many large mammals. That they can, but they would more commonly carrion, yet they're huge and they're at the top of the food chain because nothing's gonna mess with them. And then honorable mention, favorite animal, I just wouldn't want to be one because it seems boring, would be, I really like pronghorn, because pronghorn to me are, well, for one, we have pronghorn in Central Oregon and I've seen them and tracked them, and so they're just a really interesting looking animal, really interesting looking.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know, that's a sheep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. It rung a bell, but I wasn't sure. I was thinking deer for some reason.
It actually is. It actually is a little closer to a deer, but if you look at a picture of him, it's a very sheep-looking deer. It's really
I was going to say, I could see
weird looking.
It's almost like a goat.
They've always been antelope to me.
Yeah, they are closely related to antelope. It's just pronghorn are sort of our more western version of an antelope. But
I saw them the other day.
Yeah, and the reason I like pronghorn is because pronghorn are a example of almost a completely vestigial animal, because their whole body structure is designed for extreme speed sprinting, because they evolved that body and evolved those abilities to be able to outrun a lot of
everything.
Just about everything, because back in North America at the time when the pronghorn were more widespread, when the landscape was a little bit different, there was a lot more. There was large wild dog, like a wild dog species. It was there was wolves, dire wolves, and I'm sort of blanking on the name of this animal, but it was basically just like a super, souped up canine.
Like coyotes.
Yeah, it was like a super huge, fast, and of course, cougars, and of course, and at this time, North America had lions. At this time, these pronghorn developed this extreme ability to sprint and to get away from these predators. But now, a lot of those predators that they spent that much time developing those muscles and abilities for, they're not in North America anymore. So they don't really get bothered very much. The only thing they really have to run from nowadays is cougars, but that's really their only predator anymore, other than humans, of course. But
by cougar you mean mountain lion?
Yeah.
It's okay, but
well, it's Mother's Day, so.
Well, I saw half a dozen antelope the other day going to Reno and back out in Sierra Valley.
Oh yeah,
there's a nice little pod of 30, 35 of them that live out in that direction.
But we used to have actual lions, though.
Yeah,
like African lion,
North American lion, North America. I mean, they weren't necessarily African lions. It was a North American lion, and of course, North America also had saber-tooth cats at that time as well.
But the lions had a mane, like the.
I didn't know that, to be honest.
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, North America, used to have, I mean, because there was, because a lot of those lions would also prey on mammoths and things of that nature. And so, because North America used to have a lot of mammoths, and or I guess it would be mastodon, but yeah, no, it, yeah, North
I think we
America.
had both mastodons and mammoth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I know that we had parrots. That we used to have a North American parrot, and they went extinct. But that was like Georgia and like the southern part of the United States is almost tropic in nature. It's very wet, so they loved it down there. But poachers, pirates, killed them off.
Yeah, because I think what the last remaining species that might kind of still be reminiscent of that would be a cardinal, maybe. I mean, those are pretty bright and vibrant.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Well, they got. I think they just moved to South America.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that's generally what happened too, to a degree. I mean, but who knows? We're still trying to understand bird flight patterns, bird migration.
That's the thing with America. It's so big and vast and so many different sort of like, what do I would say it like? Try to think of the word. Like it's cold in one place, it's hot in the other. So you've got so many different animals in different places,
different climates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, different climates. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Thanks.
Yeah. No, it's a trip, man. It's really alarming though how much wildlife is disappearing. Like people, brush it off quite a bit, but it's no joke. Like we need to start gardening and producing things that boost this ecological collaboration. At least, at least what we can help with. It doesn't mean feed your whole garden to the deer, but it's just like helping the bees out. It's going to help produce more food across all these regions, and that's going to inevitably help bring more life out to nature. And it's birds, birds are the same thing. Like I know a lot of people in the past that would just needlessly kill a bird or something like that, just as target practice. And that kind of stuff never sat well with me, because it's just, it's just not, it's no reason to go looking for destruction, especially when our ancestors did a lot
but
of
I don't think any animals actually just go out looking to kill other animals for the point. I think they do it because they need to.
Yeah, man. I mean, it takes a lot of work. From a survival aspect, that's a lot of energy you're expending to try to hunt. Yeah. So, and there's a lot of people that just don't get it. They never do it. They never try, or read about how integral these aspects of ecology are to our own survival. I mean, the sea is one of the most prevalent discussions right now. If the sea dies, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
I have no answer to that. I put more chemicals in it, try to birth more life into it that can resist it. Like, what else are we going to do? But those are the things that we need to consider. Like, if something like that does happen, then the continents become even more valuable. I mean, life as a whole is valuable. That's how I see it, but
it's from the top to the bottom.
It's just crazy to think that we've come to this point in human society where we have to talk about a volume of water so big being poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
But that's the reality. I mean, have you heard about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, Toenail?
Not particularly, but I've heard how bad the pollution in the ocean is.
Well, this is something I relatively learned about relatively recently. It blew my mind. Was there's all these ocean currents and I know about the ocean currents. I'm sure you know, but they in the Pacific, there's like this big nest of ocean currents that kind of collect, and there's a garbage patch that's like the size of Texas inside
Oh, it's
of
just
the
like
ocean.
a floating island.
Yeah, it's
trash,
just yelling.
Yeah,
Mostly plastic.
Yeah.
but
They've
it's just,
also found a fungus that's been eating it.
yes.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
No, I mean there's definitely I'm
That's
not
the
going to
thing,
say
nature
it's a
always finds a
hopeless
way.
thing.
It's like, do you hear about Chernobyl, how the mushrooms are growing that are actually eating the radioactivity? So stuff
Yeah.
like that always
Wow, I
finds a
didn't
way.
hear about that.
The plants and
Oh,
animals
yeah, so-
around Chernobyl are also larger size than normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
Juiced
heard
up.
of the catfish.
Jeremy Wade. Yeah.
Putin, he got a little too close. Head went. You know what? I think I like it here. It's terrible, but I don't know.
Oh, and
Kind of funny.
by the way, I did find out the name of the canine species I was referencing. It's the bone crushing dogs, or as their Latin name, the Boro. Let me make sure I pronounce this right. Boro. Yeah. Boro. I totally had the pronunciation prepared. Borofalganese. Yeah, Borofalganese. Fages. Okay. Look
J
it up,
sound.
but yes,
Yeah.
but that's the Latin pronunciation, well, it's not the pronunciation, just the Latin word, but no, bone crushing dogs were a pack animal that would roam the American Southwest through some of the Midwest a lot. And
What size comparison would you put it next to, if you don't mind me asking, so I can get an idea of what you're talking about?
Oh yeah, okay, so they were huge, like they were larger than modern gray wolf species. They were not quite as large as a dire wolf at the time. They were pretty
Still
close
pretty
to
daunting, but
yeah
This
they
is
were
a war dog from history, so
yeah
that's what I'm
Oh,
curious. Is
that
if
thing jacked, bro. Jesus Christ.
war dogs are terrifying, man.
yeah they're sort of between they are a little smaller than a grizzly bear, but they're big.
Wow.
Oh, that's
big.
massive.
Yeah, they're
okay,
big.
they were massive then.
They were big, huge pack animals that would they were large enough to be able to take down small mastodons and woolly mammoths.
Yeah, this was the war dog that was being bred during ancient Greece, ancient Rome.
Nice.
Or was it? Yeah, that is. Hold on. Yeah, it is ancient Greece. No. Yes. Ancient Greece. Sorry, brain fart. It's a lot of history.
Yeah, one interesting thing about the bone crushing dogs is there's hundreds, because I don't know if you guys know about I mean, I'm sure you guys know because you guys are from California, but the La Brea tar pits, because they have found hundreds of skulls and bones from those dogs, because when a mastodon or a mammoth would get stuck in the La Brea tar pits, over the years, other ones of those, other bone crushing dogs would come and try to hunt that stuck animal and then get stuck themselves.
Yeah.
And one interesting thing to observe is that almost all of the bones found were from juvenile males. So it was pretty clear that males who didn't know any better would get stuck.
Yeah.
But the older ones who were like, no, that's a bad idea, they wouldn't go in. And so that's why we have almost all the bones that are found there from juvenile.
Yeah, the juvenile's just done it anyway.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
It's
Like,
interesting
step out of the way,
too.
old man.
Maybe
I know what
they
I'm doing.
never lived very long. Maybe they all had short lives.
That
They
This
never
is half
reached
that holds me.
nice.
Isn't that crazy though that they had different breeds too that they were hunting with? And look at those guys; they look like jackals or hyena almost.
Kind of.
No one knows. No one really knows. That's the whole thing with these breeds is they know the names, they don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So the running theory is they're extinct.
Yeah.
or they just got bred out of existence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then that's probably the reality. So we know how dogs are. They like to breed. It's not usually an issue. I mean, it doesn't matter if that dog's a poodle.
Yeah.
Like, dogs are so weird. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes, but that's, that's their nature. They don't see the science of it like we do.
Mm-hmm.
They just see a dog as dog. Dog.
Leg is dog. Well, if you like, I could say my favourite animal, or maybe an animal I'd like to be.
Yeah, go for it.
So I always thought like favourite animals is either a rhino, just because to me they seem sort of prehistoric.
A rhino?
A rhino. Rhinus.
Oh, a rhino. A rhinoceros.
Yeah, a rhinoceros, yeah.
Yes.
I completely forgot its government name there.
It's really funny is, and I'm not trying to cut you off, but my suggestion was going to be a rhinoceros beetle. So
yeah.
That's dank.
Yeah. No, but I've just always thought that they remind me of dinosaurs in a way, I guess, and they're pretty cool to look at and unique. And I'd say maybe an animal I'd want to be. I know that sounds silly, but I've always liked monkeys and chimpanzees, the way they go about things and that. But I'd have to say it need to be some sort of a bird. I don't think there's anything better than being able to fly around at will. Just get up and go wherever you want.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
To see the world through that view as well. No many people ever get to do that as well. So I guess a bird would be top of the list for me. I don't know which bird, because there's that many, but maybe one that can defend itself a little.
No, I love the birds. I'm a pilot too, so I can get the flying part.
Nice. Yeah, that would be my two choices, I guess.
Yeah, I have one. Pull it up here. This is one of the beastier ones.
Birds?
The shovel elephants. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Yeah, there used to be a variety of elephants that had shovels instead of
the full trunk.
Tusks or trunks. Yes. So they use this to dig roots and eat roots.
I've never seen that before.
Isn't that funny?
Oh.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, they've found skeletons. Since you've never seen it, let me pull up a skeleton because it's a trip.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never ever heard of that before. That's quite cool.
Yeah, the evolution of elephants is actually. Oh, also, by the way, guys, if a lot of my source for prehistory comes from a creator I really like called Mothlight Media. He has a really nice presentation, really nice information, and because I if you guys watch the show at all, I know that I really like prehistory, but yeah, elephants are one of the most interesting sort of trial and error species that has occurred. There's lots of variation in their skulls. It's very interesting, and it's fun to watch the evolution of the trunk and watch them sort of come into their own niche and find that body plan that they have today, which is a odd body plan for a mammal. I could talk about elephants more, but I like bears, but
Well, the elephants basically use their trunk like we use our arms, don't they?
Yeah, no, this is actually perfect. They have a lot of images on this animal, which is cool. But this is like a recreation of.
That's quite wild.
It's sick though. I like having a tusk and a shovel, or sorry, a trunk. Yes, shovel tusk, shovel trunk.
But
thing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation on what they really used that thing for. And yeah, right now, one of the biggest prevailing theories is that they were actually more aquatic animals and filled a similar niche to a hippo fills today, where they would use that shovel to dig up vegetation from the bottom of a lake bed and then use their trunk to scoop it up and eat it. So that's sort of the prevailing theory right now about that animal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is the echo still there? Because I don't want to obviously ruin the recording.
Yeah, it is, but if you just mute up, it's totally fine. You just need to get a headset.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I was very unprepared today and I'm on my phone.
No, dude, you're good.
Well, I'll mute myself for now. Sorry, I'll mute myself for now. And once Jeff explains his animals, I'll quickly go because I'm running out of time anyway. So I'll mute myself and have a little listen for now.
Yes. Oh, that sounds good, brother.
Nice.
Let's see here.
Before you go, I do have a question for you, but we can, actually, let me just ask that now because I've been interested in this since I figured out what this topic was this morning. But I'm curious, like, what kind of wildlife? Like, what is the wildlife like in, where you're at in Scotland? I'm curious. I really don't get to speak with that many people from Scotland, especially not about animals. So what is the wildlife like out there?
Well, it's not too vast, and you don't get to see like many deer or wolves or anything like that. They are pretty hidden away. It's more like rabbits, sheep, farm animals, basically.
Yeah.
You get quite a few migratory birds, don't you?
Yeah. But I think once you go further north and the more like places like that, that's where like you'll see the proper wildlife and that.
Is the topography in Scotland more flat or is it really more mountainous? Or like rolling hills? I'm just curious.
It's pretty like a lot of hills, mountains. Not too many big mountains like you guys have, but yeah, there's a lot. You're always going up a hill when you're in Scotland. Always.
Yeah, they don't call it the Highlands for nothing.
Yeah, when you're going you go somewhere to go up a hill. When you're coming home, you're still going up a hill. I don't know how it works, but
real quick too, just because we were talking on the evolution of elephants. Check this out because I just pulled up these are the two stages after that stage I just showed you. So I believe it's this one. Yep. So this would be one of the next evolutionary stages.
Yep.
After the shovel. And this one was big. This is probably the biggest. And then
it looks like into every time he bent over, he would poke himself in the chin or in the neck.
Yeah. Well, if you think that's bad, this is the one that is crazy.
Oh,
they had this at a point.
These ones.
Yeah.
How much of that is just, artist renderings? No.
Like they found fossils of this.
Mm-hmm.
This is like actually official documented.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of fossil hoaxes as well along the way.
Well, I don't know how much you've studied in elephants. I've studied a decent amount. And
I was going to say the archaeological community does recognize that species.
Yeah,
there are some goofy stuff, but that one is recognized.
Yeah, I wouldn't just be showing stuff pretty confidently if I didn't go to museums and literally see the fossils myself. Yeah. But
yeah, but anyways, they cobble together different animals to come up with certain fossils.
Yeah, but
I can't deny that has happened before.
In museums.
Stuff like that has happened, and there's been hoaxes where people do outlandish things like that for credit. It has happened in the past. I can't think of a specific example or animal right now, but maybe that would be an interesting one for another. Archaeological hoaxes. It's kind of an interesting thing. I got to do research into that. That sounds like a cool thing to bring up at some point.
I mean, this is in this is in Russia that they found this, and this will be one more just because. Let's see. I mean, look how complete that thing is, man. That thing's massive. You don't just stumble on.
Yeah, but those aren't all real bones. They'll make plaster bones to make the rest of the animal after they find certain things.
Well, yeah, there is a
That's
lot
what
of
I'm saying.
There's fill in the blank of all paleontology, because most fossils found are fragments, and then they'll use modern animals to use that as a building block to be able to figure out what that animal would have looked like and how big it would have potentially been based on scaling from that bone fragment or from a skull that was found. But there are errors in that process. Like there've been lots of revisions about animals that were pieced together incorrectly. So it's interesting to watch sometimes, to look at certain prehistoric species that were misrepresented for years. Like
Jeff, just read it.
Yeah.
We can't read that, dude.
Piltdown Man.
Huh?
Piltdown Man. Piltdown Man. Look that up. It's a fossilized hoax.
All I can say is, you know about how many mammoth bones and stuff they found?
No, I agree. There's plenty of fossilized records, but that doesn't stop people from creating animals out of their own imagination.
No, but if we had thousands of mammoths to begin with, how would those mammoths have evolved if there wasn't stuff like that before? That's my point. There was a split in the divergence at a point. That's why those tusks, they came from somewhere. I mean,
but that doesn't mean there aren't hoaxes as well.
No,
you gotta be careful.
I'm trying to clarify it for the audience so it's not like ambiguous about what we're telling them about.
That was supposedly a science. You know, archaeology.
What animal do you want to be?
A parrot? Found this thing, but it was turned into a hoax. It was a hoax. Look that up, Piltdown Man.
Well, the other thing about that, Jeff, is that happened in 1912. So,
when have all these bones in museums been there? They've been there hundreds of years. Some of them. Some of them.
I think most of it's just a bit of guesswork. Nobody really knows what's going on back then.
I'm saying just because you see it in a museum doesn't mean it's real.
No,
that's true.
There's a lot of people out there that don't think Olaf's real, and I've seen him in a museum too. And yeah, he does look pretty wild, you know. But when you think about how much work goes into faking it, too, and the reputation loss at hand, like who really academically wants to?
Well, and we've reached an era where there are lots of checks and balances to that, because there's a whole community now that is devoted to the study and the research of evolution and prehistory archaeology. So it's become a lot more difficult to actually fake those things, because it's a lot more easier for people nowadays to be able to check each other's work and to make sure that what we're bringing forward is in fact a real animal. But one thing to mention sort of along these lines is that you are right in saying that there is calculated guesswork in what's being done in paleontology, just because it's very difficult to get all the answers. But and another thing to always consider is that if you were to look at the species because we know a lot of species that existed in prehistory, but if you were to look at it on a pie chart of discovered species versus undiscovered, you know, the true scale of animals that have existed on this planet, we're looking at like a thin slice of that pie chart like this. There have been lots of variety and animals that have proliferated over the course of those millions of years of.
They still discover new species.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like this is a steppe mammoth. This is a different kind of mammoth. Look at the tusks. I mean, that's just curved. That's a curved version of what that other evolutionary stage was. To me, it looks like the same length, just curved. So that's what blows my mind, is why. You know, it does look like it could be fake. When I saw this stuff at first, it definitely blew my mind. I was like, there's no way that, but again, you have so many variations across so many regions of the world. It's like finding giant bones. Yeah, maybe they're not 5'5" giants that we think of. But
why aren't there more giant bones in museums? The Smithsonian's got them all locked away in their basement.
Oh, see, like it's not outlandish to see big bone structures. That's one point I will say.
Yeah,
because our ecology of that world before was different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything had to be bigger back then, didn't it?
And the way the rain worked was different. The world was misted. It wasn't necessarily the storms we see.
Yeah, and yes, Jeff, I do have to say, yeah, there have been throughout history, there have been a lot of archaeological hoaxes, but that's why that is why skepticism is important. It is important to be skeptical about the information we're taking in, because it can be fabricated. But
yes,
but yeah.
And it's no offense to you, Jeff. It is good to bring those things up. I just wanted to show you why and
grain of salt.
Explore.
What's your opinions on the Loch Ness Monster then, guys? Myth or real?
a still surviving plesiosaur.
Well, one fact I always find quite funny about it, not the actual monster itself, but the Loch Ness, is there's more water in the body of Loch Ness than there is in the whole of England. So I always thought that's quite interesting.
Have you been to Loch Ness before?
No, I'm scared of Nessie. No, I've never been. I'd like to go one time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never been, to be fair.
You go
I think I've been to Loch Lomond, that's about it.
Yeah. Toenail, you're selling me. I kind of want to go. I kind of want to travel to Scotland.
Yeah, I would recommend it for everyone, but just go and see the good bits. Don't come to the cities. Because, yeah, that's a whole different world.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, what animal would you like to be?
I like birds.
I'm quite interested. Yeah.
I like birds. I watch birds constantly. I like to fly, so.
Yeah. You'd like to do it without an engine, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I've talked to Jeff a lot about this, his spirit animal. Yeah, I got you, man. Yeah. Don't even trip here. Hold on. I know exactly what bird you've always wanted to be.
A shovelbird.
Bird in history.
Shovelbird.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
So, you know.
Oh, that looks like Rosie in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom of the tree there.
Is that a dodo or am I completely wrong?
A dodo.
Yeah,
that's a dodo.
Yeah.
It's coming back, man. It's coming back.
I like the raptors.
Yeah, I think everyone loves.
I really love the cranes. We have some local cranes that live here, sandhill cranes.
Mm-hmm.
They're beautiful, and the Chinese consider them good luck. So I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I really like we get blue herons up here, just big, beautiful wingspan. I would see them a lot because when I lived in Portland, there was this little sort of duck pond by where I'd walk my dog, and every other day there would be just a blue heron just hunting, just checking it out. It was always really cool to get to see that. Herons are neat.
You always hear a lot of birds over here, but you don't it's quite weird. You don't get to see them all, if that makes sense. You're always hearing them, but not seeing them.
Yeah.
What I'll do right now is, as I'm running out of time, is I'll quickly say goodbye because I do need to get going.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But, it was nice to be a part of this, and I hope to be a part of another one soon. And it was nice to meet you guys, and happy Mother's Day to everyone. So,
thank you, Toenail.
No, it's really nice to meet you.
Yeah. Have a pleasant day.
You too, guys. Take care.
Get out of my swamp. I love how he left just right when I said it too.
Yep, it was perfect.
No, Toenail's awesome, and I think you missed it earlier, Chad, but he said he'd like to be a bird or a rhinoceros.
Oh, dude, rhinoceros would be a good one.
No, and I mentioned that rhinoceros beetle would be cool. I think I would enjoy doing that, being like a tank in the beetle world. Oh, another one.
I wouldn't mind being a dung beetle. That looks kind of fun.
You play with shit.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, you just get to roll it around. Everybody knows what you're about. Like if anybody sees you walking, they're like, "Oh, that guy's a dung beetle." Like.
I mean, it is like HVAC. I mean, the kind of movement, and I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see this. You just got your legs back there.
It's got to be one of the more strenuous jobs of the insect world. I mean, what do you do? What do you do all day? Roll poop. Yeah. Then you could talk to a bee. What do you do all day? Well, I go to flowers. I see my queen.
I drink nectar.
Drink nectar.
I drink nectar.
And Cameron, what animal did you want to be, or did you already discuss it and I missed it?
Oh, the rhinoceros
or is it just dung beetle? Just a rhinoceros beetle?
Rhinoceros. This is a dung beetle too, but isn't it crazy how they have all those horns and stuff?
Yeah.
Too. It's like I don't think anyone wants to eat you, man.
No, I think beetles get kind of. I mean, beetles get big. It's kind of weird sometimes when you really think about it, because we don't get big beetles out here. So it's I mean, I guess the beetles we do get here out here are some of the larger insects that we do have in Oregon, but still, they're not. They're like that big. Maybe.
Well, have you seen the rhinoceros beetles?
I've seen rhinoceros beetles before.
Yeah, man,
they are impressive.
Is a type that I would enjoy.
Yeah.
Just clean. No, a praying mantis would be cool too. If we're talking bigger, a beaver. I always thought being a beaver would be a very interesting one.
Being a beaver would be cool.
And I guess the biggest thing with all that is stop destroying natural waterways.
Mm-hmm.
And natural wetlands.
Yeah.
I mean, that helps the bird. That helps everything. Wetlands is probably one of our biggest. Oh my gosh, Charlie.
Speaking of animals, yeah.
Wetlands are like one of our biggest strip biomes, or like floodlands in general, because they're impractical to build on.
Yeah.
So people are always trying to divert that water to somewhere else. So.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, wetlands are hugely important. I know Portland, from where I grew up in Portland, does a really good job of preserving those wetland patches, like where they'll normally be sort of neighborhoods. They're sort of built around them, and then maybe there's a trail that goes through it, so you can walk your dog through it and stuff like that. That's actually because the pond that I was talking about with that heron was actually originally. It was a ridge because it is a natural structure, and it was originally a beaver pond, but they, since put a culvert in it just to help with drainage, but it's full year round. And when I was younger, there were nutria in there, and for those of you who don't know, nutria are an invasive species that were introduced from South America. It's a large, gross looking rodent species, but they were introduced to North America, specifically like West Coast, because they were going to have them proliferate and then hunt them for fur instead of hunting beavers for fur. But then the nutria just started pushing beavers out of their own habitat, because nutria can form larger, stronger family units that are territorial. And so when I was younger, that pond was always full of nutria, and you can always tell the difference between a nutria and a beaver, because the nutria are going to have bright orange front teeth and a rat tail rather than a paddle tail. And but just recently, more recently, the beavers, they either trapped and relocated, or who knows what, to the nutria that were living in that pond. But there has been an effort in Oregon to move the nutria out and to bring back beavers. And so now that pond that used to have a bunch of nutria, now it's back to having a healthy little family of beavers that I would get to see as I would walk my dog. I'd get to see them slapping their tail around, paddling around. They had a little lodge. Really
you're saying the nutria would fight the beavers?
I mean, not so much fight, but they would push beavers out of their natural habitat. They just had better numbers and just were more prolific to the point where they were spreading and beavers were losing that battle. But now
they had more babies.
Yeah. And so now they're
bred like rats.
Yeah, no, they that's what they look like. They look like a big giant aquatic rat, and they're really gross. And I mean,
that's really weird.
Because beavers almost look like that, if not for the fact that they're also adorable for some reason. But
they're called what again? I'm gonna type it.
Nutria.
Nutria.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever. Oh, those things.
Yep, those things. I wouldn't be surprised. You guys probably do have those in NorCal. Wouldn't surprise me.
I have
down in the Delta. They have a problem with those.
Yeah, I've never seen them personally.
Digging holes in the levees as well.
Yeah.
Ew, man, they really are like aquatic rats, though.
Yeah, they're kind of gross looking. They're not my favorite animal.
Why are their teeth orange?
Great question. It probably has to do with
they never brush.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably algae.
Well, and it wouldn't surprise me if it had to do with their the bone structure in their teeth, because their teeth, like, they do chew a lot of stuff. They're still, they're not quite like beavers, but I mean, because their teeth are more evolved to be able to handle whatever wood is in South America.
Yeah, so it's actually iron accumulation on their teeth.
Interesting.
It's because of their diet.
Oh. What do they do? Eat dirt?
Because they eat the plants and aquatic vegetation, which probably does have a lot of dirt in it.
That would make sense. And yeah, that would make sense. God, that's really interesting. I did not know that. But yeah, there's been a huge push not huge. There's been a decent push in Oregon to get nutria out of our state as best we can, but from what I've seen, beavers have really been reclaiming a lot of the waterways, because in the later years of my life, when I would really be getting out and going out into nature more, I saw a lot. As of late, I've been seeing a lot more beaver than nutria. I haven't seen a nutria in a long time.
They're doing a lot of releases through California with beavers and relocations, and also they should have an open season on nutria with no bag limit. Just take as many as you want.
I mean, we've done stuff like that in Oregon too, where there's no law about killing nutria. It's not like we were encouraged to, but it was definitely like, if you see a nutria and you want to kill it, go by all means, go for it, And I know there's no laws about, there's no laws about live trapping on those nutria anymore. So it's like, but lately it's been improving itself, which is just a good example of where, humans have the capacity to fix our mistakes, because we introduced a lot of species into the United States, not realizing what kind of an effect it would have until later, when it became a real issue. And now we're trying to pick up the pieces in certain parts of the country. Like one state that really suffers a lot from this, from invasive species that were introduced, is Florida. Florida struggles quite a bit with not just animals that were introduced on purpose, but pet trade. I'm sure you guys know a lot about anacondas, pythons that have ended up in there through the pet trade that thrive because it's a great environment for them, because there's lots of small game, it's wet, it's humid. And Florida does have pretty decent stretches of uninhabitable, as in just scarcely populated swaths of dense forest that lots of these animals can hide in. And of course, honorable mention, if we're going to talk about the South and invasive species, about plant life, would be kudzu. Yeah. I know Cameron's seen a fair share of that in Georgia.
Oh yeah, big time. Also, this was a video, since we're mentioning anacondas, this video is crazy, man.
Yeah, because the anacondas they're not even holding back. They're eating alligators. It's nuts, dude.
No, this was speculated if it was real or not, but I watched it a few times, man. I think it's real.
I feel like I've seen this.
This came out real recently.
Oh, I have not seen this one.
Look how, like, that's really...
That is really big. You know,
And it looks like natural movement. Like that looks like a squirming. But man,
It looks like it just ate too.
Yeah, no, it did. It said in this picture,
which will add to its size.
Well, the people don't look like AIs either.
Yeah.
No.
But look at the movement of that thing. That's got some muscle, dude.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Yeah, no, that
scary.
that thing could crush your rib cage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, snakes.
Yeah.
Giant anacondas scare me more than any animal on this earth.
Yeah, anacondas
Honestly.
and pythons get crazy.
Bobbit
And,
worms.
If we want to go back into prehistory, there was a snake, there was a period in history where the climate warmed significantly, and when the climate warmed, that gave lots of reptiles the ability, since they're cold-blooded, to grow to enormous sizes, since they could regulate their body temperatures better. I need to figure out the name of this actual snake, but there was in South America at one point, there was a snake that was, I think it's 30 feet long, maybe 40, but I want to get the name of that snake because it is really impressive to, it is really, Titanoboa. Yep. Yeah. Titanoboa is a very impressive snake species. Yeah. I would recommend it if we're looking at big snakes.
Yeah. Worst one. It's definitely the worst one.
Yeah.
This is,
And the other interesting thing about this snake too is that the other interesting thing about the snake is that it was able to grow to such sizes too, because this snake evolved just after the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs, and so it had this new niche to fill of apex predator and of apex ambush predator, and so that's where the Titanoboa sort of got its huge size was from the warm climate and the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs. Yeah, it was freaky. It was massive.
And people still don't think jackalopes exist.
Hey, I'm looking at that picture right there, and the human head and the snake head comparison doesn't look anything like the human head and snake head of the drawing below it.
I mean, it's probably averages. For one, I don't know though, because it could just be they might not just be well, no, it's a skull size comparison, so
yeah. But the skull on the drawing looks like it's, I mean, the snake in the drawing looks like it's skull and torso of this human skeleton next to it, whereas you look at the comparison up above and it's like two skulls to the head of the snake.
Well, that the one in the picture has its mouth open, and because snakes can dislocate their jaw, and so they can hyperextend that, so that it's.
But I'm just looking at the top portion of the head, you know.
Yeah.
So if you look at the head and the skulls above compared to the skulls below, and get rid of the bottom lip, that snake is drawn much larger than the skeletal picture above. Mm-hmm. Scale-wise to the human. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the bottom's not to scale. The top's trying to be to scale.
The top is trying to be to scale.
Just trying to scale.
The bottom is misleading in scale. That's all.
Oh yeah. No, there are a lot of, like, you know, shock factors to the Titanoboa, because I think it was discovered in 2001, but yeah, it was definitely a kind of a shocking discovery to discover a snake that large, but
it's cool.
It is cool. It's a neat one. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that skeleton, man. It's a very bad picture, but you get the idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like
I believe that.
I believe. Oh, go ahead, Cameron. I'm sorry.
No, I believe that existed. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Snakes are terrifyingly good at what they do.
Yeah, it was also one of the only times in history that a snake was the de facto apex predator of an ecosystem. I mean, I guess there could be some. No, I think that was really one of the only times. Yeah.
See, now that head looks more in perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and that head kind of fits better with the proportion of snakes. Like this scaling's better. I like this one.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Nice.
Size of 14.6 meters. So that's like 40 feet, 35 feet, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
15 yards.
Just nuts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Duh. So 45 feet. Yeah.
Yep.
Jeez. Yeah, that's enough Titanoboa. I get sweaty, man. I used to have a fear. I saw, like, back when YouTube was, like, back in, like, 2013, 2014, like, this weird Asian movie of, like, someone sitting on a toilet and a snake came and grabbed it by the butt, like,
oh my
started
God.
pulling them in the toilet. I had an innate fear, and that's actually where my fear of toilets at campsites comes from. Is I'm like, there's gonna be a snake in there to grab my butt.
Dude, I wish you guys could see Cameron every time he has to go to the bathroom like an emergency, and we're on a road trip, and the only thing we got is a pit toilet. He's always like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah. And you don't want to go looking around.
And then he comes out, and he's like, whew.
Dude,
It's
terrifying.
just
You
a
don't want to
national
look around to
forest
see if there's a
bathroom.
snake because it's just nasty down there, you know?
Dude, I'll never forget one time at Lake Almanor, I got food poisoning, and I was sunburned because I was in the water for 6 hours straight, and I literally was on the toilet in sunburn pain, straining, just on those pit toilets, and I'm like, I'm so hopeless. This is so terrible. Oh, that was so
We don't
terrible.
need any details. We're good.
Oh my gosh, Jeff, what are you kidding? It's camping.
Hey, speaking of snakes, I saw my first snake of the season a couple days ago in my backyard.
Ooh,
Oh, sweet.
rattler?
No, it was a little garter snake.
Nice.
It's probably about 8 inches long at the most. Little thing.
Shoelace.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Shoelace snakes. Yeah, have I ever told you that story, Jeff? When I was little, that I saw one of those in Oregon. I went to go pick it up because I was like 4 years old or 5 years old. I thought it was a shoelace. I was like, oh, free shoelace in the garden, man. I'm like, wow. I went to give it, and it was a snake. I'm like, ah. Grandma came out. She's like, oh. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've picked up a rattlesnake before. You know,
Can't say I've done that. I've seen them, but I've
I
never
worked
picked
at the
one up.
landfill, and somebody came in with a load that had a snake in it, and it started to slither towards other customers. So I walked up to it, and we had these flags
Yep.
with a stick on them. So I used the end of I rolled up the flag, and I used the end of the stick to pin the head down, and I came up from behind its head.
And then you can like pick it up like from behind the head like that.
Right, and then I tossed it out in the into the overgrown covered garbage. We got rats at the landfill, so I know it's gonna get some food, and everybody's like, "You should have killed it." It's like, why? It's gonna go eat rats now.
Yeah.
All you got to do is if you see it, don't go near it. But you know,
Right. No, there was an experiment on rattlesnakes where they took a fake leg with boot, and they tried to physically step on rattlesnakes to entice them to bite, and like out of all those attempts, only 4% of the legs were bitten. Most of the time, the rattlesnake just wants to get away.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know one thing about a lot of venomous snakes is that I can only really speak to rattlesnakes, because I know that rattlesnakes' fangs are relatively delicate, and if they're going to use them, they really think hard about it, because they primarily use their venom to just paralyze small animals to be eaten. But but they will and can and have bitten humans and horses. So you should still always use caution, but they're not as aggressive as people really think they are. And I've almost there was one time I was on the Crooked River out here in Oregon, which is it's a very arid, very deserty an environment, and the crooked river that runs through it is one of the main sources of water. And so that's where you're going to find a lot of rattlesnakes, is around a source of water. And I was hopping from rock to rock with my fishing pole, and I hopped on one rock, and right when I hopped onto it, it was small. It wasn't a huge rattlesnake, but I saw a rattlesnake. It didn't rattle at me, but it coiled itself backwards. And in the same motion as I landed on the rock, I leapt backwards onto the rock I just came from. And that was the closest I ever came to a rattlesnake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the little ones are the dangerous ones. They can't control their venom yet.
Yeah.
And plus they're small, so they want to blast as much as they can in case there's, a predator trying to get them.
Yeah, and then I saw a rattlesnake that size once, also on the Crooked, I didn't get nearly as close to that one, but it had right around in its midsection, it had a huge lump in there.
It had just eaten.
It had just eaten. It was pretty neat.
They're gorgeous snakes.
Yeah, rattlesnakes are really cool. I do sort of have a crush on rattlesnakes, especially since it's the only venomous snake we have in Oregon. So it's just kind of a
cool. Don't tread on us. It's like an American thing, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. No, that's about the size that I picked up right there. About the same number of rattles.
Yeah, no, that's probably a good 4 foot.
Now, I saw cottonmouth once in Indiana as well.
Cottonmouths are scary.
Yeah,
sitting under a tree, just sitting there enjoying the day. I just went over and checked it out and left it alone.
Yeah, because those are the because what are the North American venomous snake species? Is cottonmouth, water moccasin, and rattlesnake. I think aren't those it?
The coral snake as well.
Coral snake. Yep.
Yeah. And then I'm not sure.
Cottonmouth is the most deadly.
Yeah.
For sure, though. Yeah. They're terrifying. That's what I was terrified in Georgia, dude.
God, that is a scary looking snake. That's scarier looking.
And that's a small one too. They get really big.
That's scarier looking than a rattlesnake. Rattlesnakes have that like really deadly beauty to them, but that thing just looks scary.
Well, rattlesnakes will warn you. These won't even warn you.
Yeah.
They're aggressive.
And they're aggressive,
Yeah.
Yeah, everything about cottonmouths are terrifying. You do not want to mess with them.
I think because we're talking a lot about North America as in our the United States, but if we go into Central America, are there any other venomous snakes in Central America? Because the only other venomous animal I can think of off the top of my head now,
I think they got vipers down there.
Wouldn't be surprised, especially towards like Costa Rica. But
jumping vipers.
Yeah.
Eyelash viper, coral snake, golden lacehead. Oh wait, no, these are just snakes. Hold on.
Yeah.
Poisonous snakes in Central America.
I know, and then I know that the only other poisonous reptile I can think of right now in Central America would be the Gila monster. Well, and that's not and venomous.
They bite you and then wait until their saliva kills you.
Yeah, because they don't.
It's got a lot of bacteria in it that
exactly. It doesn't actually have venom. It just has lots of bacteria in its mouth that it doesn't have a problem. It's immune to it, but it's very harmful to flesh.
And then they basically wait for the animal to die of a bacterial infection.
Yeah.
Then they
interesting. Eat it. Yeah. So Gila monsters are cool looking too.
Have you seen the yellow-bellied sea snakes?
I haven't.
Oh.
Not in person.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah. Copyright. Oh, screw off, National Geographic. I don't care. See your... Oh, hold on. It's prompting me. Fine. I'll just find my own snake.
Find my own snake.
Yellow-bellied sea snake. All right. Boom. All right. Yeah, these guys are no joke. These are anything sea and venomous is pretty deadly to begin with. But this thing, man, this is what swims off of the coastlines of Brazil and stuff.
It looks like a paddle tail.
They're really pretty, but yeah, it's yellow does not mean mellow with this fellow. I forget how deadly exactly.
Because I know
Highly venomous.
Yeah, I know the most venomous snake is black mamba. I know that one.
It's like Indian stuff, isn't it?
I think black mamba is south central Africa. Or I think it is just South Africa, just like south of the Congo. They have black mambas.
Yeah.
Bite treatment. The only existing method for treating yellow-bellied sea snake bites is using antivenom. Duh.
God, anti-venom's a cool concept to me. Also, I want to do more research into that just because it's just flat out interesting. Just that concept. I've always thought about that. If I ever get bit by a snake, wouldn't that be cool to bring in the snake carcass and be like, here, you know?
This is one other snake type that you guys have probably heard of, the fer de lance.
I know I've heard that name, but I can't place it to a picture. I want to see.
It's a bit of a bizarre one, but this is one of Brazil's deadliest. You'll probably recognize it though. It kind of looks like a diamondback, except without the rattle.
Oh yeah. Where's that snake from?
Brazil.
Oh, okay.
It generally is around that area. That's where a lot of the snake bites occur, at least.
Yeah.
Man, you could see that snake blending into a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, because at least in Oregon,
litter, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least in Oregon, the places that we have venomous snakes are there's not too much underbrush, but
yeah, it's a lot of stones.
I could see it being really spooky out in Georgia with cottonmouths and water moccasins, and then I could see it being even more scary in Brazil, where it's just nothing but underbrush.
The jungle.
The jungle. Yeah.
Yeah, this is no. Hold on. I looked up Georgia and I shouldn't have done that. Georgia.
The jungle can kill you in 1,000 ways.
Yeah, if you guys want a good jungle thriller, I think it's just called Jungle. It stars Daniel Radcliffe, but it's based on a true story of people who traveled to South America and got lost, and two people went missing, were never seen again. But it tells the story of this guy who survived in the South American jungle. I'm pretty sure in the Amazons. No, it's a really good film. Would highly recommend. Daniel Radcliffe does a very good job.
This is how Georgia looks.
Okay.
This is the terrain you're dealing with: tight, brushy pathways.
Yeah.
And so, like, you could see how a cottonmouth could be anywhere in that.
Oh God, it could be right on the edge of that trail.
That's why I was terrified. I'd be walking by myself in these places. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing this at night. Hell no.
Oh, you never see a cottonmouth at night, even with its mouth open. And a flashlight.
Well, I know snakes don't like to be as active at night, but again, like,
well, if it's warm like Georgia,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I was out of my turf there, dude. I've never felt so afraid of a forest in my life. Georgia terrified me, dude. But actually, Alabama terrified me more. But that's because they're cursed.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about that state that is cursed.
I remember feeling like that in Florida, because I'll go to Florida. My aunt has a farm down in Florida in Gainesville, and I remember hanging out there and walking around and just thinking like, man, I am an Oregon boy on the kitty corner end of the country here, and I remember feeling a little out of place, where it's like, man, I really don't know a ton about the dangerous wildlife out here, and the terrain and the vegetation is different enough to where it makes you feel uneasy.
Like, one of the first thing I learned about was chiggers.
Oh.
And I didn't know about those in my life until I moved to Georgia.
Okay, I learned about chiggers in a really awful way, because I was out in Florida hanging out, and I was bored, and so I was like, dude, I'm gonna build a fort. So I built up, a lean-to structure, and and then I went around and was like, oh man, there's so much Spanish moss on the ground. So I gathered up all this Spanish moss and flumped it down. Yeah. And then I found out pretty quick. I was like, Aunt Linda, why am I in so much pain? Why is this so awful? And she was like, well, were you scrubbing around in the brush? And I was like, yeah, I was building a fort. I got Spanish moss. And she's like, we call those chiggers. And
yeah.
I also thought that was so funny when they called them chiggers. I'm like, whoa. Do you mean to say that? I'm like, is that really their name? I'm like, is that slang? They're like, no, that's chiggers. They're chiggers. Who came up with that name, dude? Gosh. I mean, I'm like, it's the South. I don't know what.
I was gonna say, leave it to Georgia, but you know.
Yeah.
Dude, that place tripped me out. It's a total culture shock from the West.
Yeah.
Down there. And I mean, like, seriously, $11 an hour was good pay when I was there, and that was only 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
To us, that's like, whoa.
Yeah, that's like, whoa, yeah.
Something's wrong. You missed a digit there. But yeah, it's the terrain there is no joke. Like what's another area I could show? Like, yeah, this is a good image of how thick compared to our canopy the Georgian canopy looks. Is this Georgia or is this Georgia, the country? Hold on. That's also a problem.
Okay.
Appalachian. No, this is Appalachian.
That's not the country.
Yes.
So the Appalachian Mountains, do they, because I know they curve down most of the East Coast, and then does like the tail end like pop into Georgia? Yeah,
the tail end pops into Georgia. This I would think, well, okay, I don't know if it pops directly into Georgia. Like I think it does though.
Yeah,
I really think it does because of all the training they do in Georgia too with the military. But partly a lot of that more mountainous stuff is in South Carolina, I believe, and upward, and then it goes into Alabama a little bit, and I think it starts curving. But I could be wrong. I mean, why don't I just look it up?
Pull up a topographic map of the Appalachian Mountains. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go into Georgia. It's got to go into the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains at least.
Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, okay, yeah. No, I wasn't wrong, actually, but I was wrong because I didn't think of the natural curve of the United States. So it does curve, but our continent curves. So, you'll see what I mean right here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it just goes into like just the top of that state right there. And then, yeah, you right there, that orange coloration, cause that's in reference to, elevation. So yeah, Georgia just has some of those foothills of the Appalachians right there. That's cool.
Yeah, and it looks like Tennessee.
Yeah,
is what I was thinking of where it intersects into more, not Alabama. And South Carolina is like Georgia, so I forgot South Carolina is not above Georgia. It's pretty much right next to it.
Right. I know a embarrassingly small amount about the East Coast. I should probably
Me too.
More. Yeah.
No, dude, I know hardly anything about what's going on over there, topographically speaking. That's why
I know that Charlotte, North Carolina, the Georgia Institute of Technology is go away. 170 miles from the tail of the dragon, which is in Tennessee.
I'm still deciding.
The tail of the dragon?
No.
It's a famous motorcycle road. The Harley guys trailer their bikes there to ride the tail of the dragon. And it's basically 16 miles and 300 curves.
Oh, interesting.
But if you go off of Highway 80 in Auburn, California, go south on Highway 49 off of Highway 80, you get to a road called Mosquito Ridge Road, and it's twice the Tail of the Dragon. I call it Tail of the Dragon West. And it's basically 635 curves in 32 miles. And then you get to a little lake, you can do some fishing. Then you got to turn around and come back so you got to do it twice. So I never had a desire to go to the Tail of the Dragon because it's just loaded with Harleys, and I don't care for the sound of Harleys in large masses. And I call them fart cycles. Fart cycles.
I can think of a couple people where if I said that to them, they would get pretty mad.
Yeah.
The one time the only time I ever spent in Charlotte was was in the Charlotte airport, because I was again flying to Florida when I was like 15. And this might even be the same trip as the Chiggers. I was a little out of control at age 15, but this was out of my control. But I ended up stuck in the Charlotte airport because my flight got delayed for 24 hours, and there was some kind of convention going on, so all the hotels were booked, and I had to at age 15 I had to sleep in the airport and then wait a full 24 hours before I could get on my next flight. And I just walked around the airport and called people on the phone and just was just like,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was an experience.
This is the park I would walk around in Georgia.
Okay.
Flat Rock Park. So
that's pretty.
Yeah, it was just this flat rock that had water coming down, and it made that waterfall I just showed. And but that's where I was worried about finding cottonmouths and stuff.
Yeah.
In that tree line, it just goes into thicket, like. But I found turtles. I did find turtles laying eggs, and so I moved to. Oh, I had to hold the turtle. I was so excited, dude. Now I put the turtle right back. Mm-hmm. But yeah, right next to the roads, they just dig these.
You gotta be careful what kind of turtle you try to pick up. You don't want to grab a snapper.
Snapper, yeah. No, I know that much.
Yeah.
Snapping turtles are distinct, though. They have a pretty bulbous shell.
Yeah.
Not saying they're not saying the juveniles look like that.
That and the beak is pretty well hooked too.
No, it was a I looked it up later. It was like a box turtle or
So anyway, 170 miles from Atlanta, Georgia to the Tail of the Dragon. In case any of your fans are listening.
No, that's really neat. That's actually really neat. This is the turtle I found in Georgia.
Oh yeah,
little friendly guy. I saw his head poke out, and I could see, but then poked right back in. Turtles do not like being handled, so I didn't handle much.
Usually. But looks like a painted turtle almost.
Yeah, it's like a painted turtle. Very similar. Very neat creatures.
I like turtles.
That would be a cool thing to be, as a turtle, but I think I wouldn't want to go back. I think I'd have too much fun just. Are they gone? Is the press gone? No, it's really interesting. Just the diversity of North America. I mean, I know it's what we know the most. It's what anyone who's grown up around their regions know more about those creatures and the creatures of the world, because we're always discovering new things to begin with. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, there's been a few new species that they thought were extinct that have been rediscovered lately. I can't think of them off the top of my head.
One of them is the coelacanth. It's a prehistoric fish, because it's a prehistoric lobe-finned fish, and it's because lobe-finned fish were actually the not specific. land animals did not specifically evolve from coelacanths, but coelacanths are one of the last descendants of the lobe-finned fish that land animals did evolve from. And so it was pretty amazing to discover that. I think it was discovered off the coast of South Africa, because now it's a deep sea, because they used to be way more diverse. Like there used to be coelacanths in all sorts of different environments, but now the last remaining species of coelacanth is a deep sea fish. So it's just been chilling out and just filling its own little niche for millions of years. That's why. Yeah.
Well, it's like the Loch Ness Monster, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think, I think it's not unfallacious for something in that region, the cold regions, for it to live a long time because the metabolism.
Yeah.
What do we know? Like, what do we know? We are not that. We are humans. Yeah. We're very different.
Look at Greenland sharks. Greenland sharks have a lifespan of 400 years because of metabolism and the nature of the environment they live in, because it's so cold. Their metabolism moves so slowly, and they expend so little energy in their lives that they just live like that's what freaks me out sometimes, is that there are Greenland sharks that are currently swimming in the dark that were alive or that were born, during the medieval times. That's cool.
It's kind of freaky.
They're not medieval, I'm sorry, but long time ago.
Right. Mm-hmm. But even in Virginia City, man, think about some of those mine shafts. What's living in there now?
Yeah, who knows?
750 miles of underground caverns. Like, there could be all sorts of bugs and bats and raccoons. Wouldn't put it past them.
I wouldn't put anything past a raccoon.
Yeah, bats are prominent in the Reno area, so
yeah. But this snake. Oh, sorry, Jeff.
Oh, I was gonna say I would imagine that the bats are all over Nevada.
Yeah.
There's one bridge. They estimated there's 40,000 bats under one bridge on the Truckee River.
Wow.
I know that there's toxic fumes in there, and there's got to be a degree of where all life is going to be hindered, but but still, like microbes and stuff, who knows? Maybe we're passively creating new strengths of bacteria deep in those holes in the ground, and they're just going to take hundreds of years to figure it out.
All this gene modification stuff is nothing more than chimeras.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything CRISPR touches is a chimera, and they're a product at that point. They're no longer, they become a product and patented so that they can be bought and sold.
Well, this animal right here, have you guys seen this before?
I've seen that one before, yeah.
I have not seen that one.
This is the size of a quarter.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And this is the smallest snake in the world discovered.
Is it
a few years back?
Worm snake, or is that something else?
It's like the same size as a worm. Similar.
Yeah.
It was found underground, so that's why it's so pale. Or in a cavern, I believe.
Oops.
But yeah, this is a really interesting one. And then just an honorable mention for the last one we'll leave off with.
They found a new bird species that are a previously thought to be extinct bird species down in South America, I believe, as well.
Yes.
And that was fairly recent. I believe it was either early this year or possibly late last year.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. There was a whole thing on that. But man, the giant sea bass, just had to put that out there because these things are so cool.
Yeah.
Looks delicious.
Grouper.
Well, that's what a lot of people thought. That's why there's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
It does look delicious. I got to be honest. But yeah. I also think of this like a bear. They're kind of just here filling in a role, and I just don't need to mess with it. Like, eat the small, the It's crazy how much our mindsets have changed.
Yeah.
Over the centuries on food.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen a Garibaldi fish before?
No.
Ooh,
I've
look
heard
that
of
up. It's a pretty neat. We get them. We have them off the coast of Oregon. They're like sort of a deep sea rock bass type fish, grouper type fit. Well, rock bass. So, but they're pretty interesting looking. They're just like,
are they orange?
They're a really surprisingly vibrant fish to have off the Oregon coast. It's like a lot of our fish are more toned down, but the Garibaldi is just this random bright orange fish.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a parrotfish.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
It's trippy. It's a very serious fish, man.
Yeah.
God, fish faces. Honorable mention, just fish faces. That looks like The Rock in another life. Okay. That's a clean fish.
Very serious fish.
I did have one fish that I thought Jeff would really enjoy. And that was
I like the clownfish. Those are cool.
Yeah. I like any animal that forms a symbiotic relationship with another animal. I always just think that's so cool. Yeah.
The blobfish.
Classic, man. The blobfish.
The blobfish.
Oh, that poor thing.
Uh-huh.
That poor thing. That is such a strange, just such a strange texture, man.
Well, you got to look them up. You got to look up one of it in the water.
I know. It's completely different.
That's the really cool comparison, is to look at the blobfish at the surface and then to look at the blobfish in its natural habitat. It's still, don't worry, it still looks weird.
Oh, yeah, it does.
It's still weird.
Still weird.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's just the strangest thing, though.
It looks so scared. It's like, why are you taking my picture?
I'm sorry. I love aquatic life and stuff, but I could not be a diver discovering this stuff. I would poop my pants, man, in the water. Seeing something like that come out, and I don't know what it is. I'm like, that's not a trout.
Look up. While we're on fish, let's do a picture of a Goliath grouper.
Goliath groupers they're just terrifying.
They're terrifying.
Then look up an alligator gar.
They're not afraid of anything, and so they'll swim right up to divers. They don't care. They don't care.
Look up alligator gar too.
Yeah, alligator gar, cool. I would love to catch an alligator gar. They're just such a cool prehistoric looking fish. Yeah, look at the size of that thing.
There are a lot of fish that are peaceful, and
yeah,
and it's like I do find solace and beauty in that, the idea of swimming with these creatures.
Yeah.
Especially because it's something our ancestors have done. If you think about it, for a long time, fish know we are humans. They have to know that to a degree we're both predators and friends, because we provide food, but we also take life. So I don't know. I can't. Some fish are always some animals are always gonna be what they're gonna be. Like flies, they're still gonna land on you. They're still gonna, there's still plenty of opportunities to kill them. But with animals like that have just been hunted over the years, I wonder how much they communicate, and change their patterns underwater.
Mm-hmm. I think humans have a far larger, we know we have a huge effect on ecosystem, but I think we have more of an effect on animal behavior than we realize, because if you bring up a really good point of that humans have been coexisting with the animals on this planet, and we've been evolving together, because the animals that were present when humans were first beginning to come into their own, beginning to become a Homo sapien, there were different animals back then. There were animals that are now extinct. There are animals that have changed because of the advent of humans, and there's animals that have short enough lifespans to be able to evolve in even just the span that we've been here. So it's very interesting to kind of track and observe and self-reflect on some of the, or not self-reflect, to reflect on some of the the changes that have come up that aren't bad, that are just natural, the natural inclination of all the species to not coexist but to exist, because that's the bottom line fact, is that we do exist. Yeah, alligator gar are really cool.
That's crazy, though.
Yeah, they're nuts.
I've heard about them, but I've never really looked at them.
Yeah,
They're really just alligator fish.
yeah,
They're just straight up an alligator fish.
yeah. And I'm jealous because we don't have gar, we don't have gar in Oregon, so I would have to go to a southern state if I wanted to actually catch one of those.
You can catch them, and there's like a lot of them, or
no? They're alligator gar are the more rare of the gar species, because there's lots of different species of gar. There's long-nosed gar, there's speckled gar, spotted gar, and then of course, the alligator gar.
And there may be a size limit as well, or slot limit.
Yeah,
that one looks pretty bloody.
Well, because an interesting thing too is that in the 1930s, maybe 50s, alligator gar there was like a campaign against them. They were considered a threat to humans and a threat to ecosystems, and there was this huge push to eradicate them. So they would use electro boats and hunted them nearly to extinction. So that's why alligator gar are more rare for the gar species, and why they used to get even bigger.
Yeah, that was a 10-foot gar in Texas.
Yep. They're starting to bounce back, but the largest alligator gar that we really see nowadays are like 6 to 7 feet, would be a pretty huge gar. But
yeah, they are making a comeback.
But they are still big fish, because most alligator gar that you're going to see are going to be like 3 to 4 feet long. Like, that's still a big fish, if you really think about the freshwater fish species we have here. Ooh, hey, how much do you guys know about sturgeon? Manatee.
Manatees are so cool.
Sturgeon they get huge too. They'll get a couple thousand pounds.
Sturgeons are crazy. Sturgeons, it's definitely the largest freshwater fish species. I think the largest freshwater fish species actually goes to paddlefish, but I know sturgeon are up there on like the size range of how big a freshwater fish can get. I mean, they can get 12 feet long. They're huge. Oh, northern pike. Oh, another one on my. And you guys are just checking off all of my dream fish species to catch, because I really want to catch northern pike. I've just never.
Those are delicious.
We just don't have a lot of it. Yeah.
Just go to Lake Davis.
Yeah. We only
that's a very similar. That's a very similar fish structure to the alligator gar.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's trippy.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm hungry for fish, man.
Yeah, right. Now, I want to go fishing. Maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow. Go fishing. I have a day off.
That's why I like trout and bluegill and things that can be restocked. And I could settle with those things because, I don't want to destroy these habitats. And I mean, that's the reality of a lot of the fishing industry that makes me sick, is that drag netting.
Yeah.
Drag nets
and gill nets.
Probably the worst thing we've ever done.
Yeah, gill nets are an issue. I mean, it's hard to call them an issue because it's its own industry out here on the Columbia River. Is that the Columbia River has gill nets? That's where a lot of the salmon, like a lot of salmon comes from gill netting in the Columbia River. But I mean, also, a lot of salmon does come from ocean netting too. But
isn't the gill netting for the natives doing it mostly? I thought it's illegal except for native populations.
Gill netting isn't, I'd have to check if the laws changed recently, but I know gill netting is not illegal, but it is illegal to fish the Columbia River Falls, because only Native Americans are allowed to fish the Columbia River Falls, that's where they have those long docks and boards that go out over the falls, and they would use large pole nets and wait for the salmon to jump and then catch them.
Right.
That is a very traditional Native American fishing technique inside of Oregon and inside around the Columbia River Basin, because the Columbia River Basin used to hold quite a bit of Native American tribes that would all come to that falls to get fish.
Yeah, there's like a natural fishing trap that I learned about. It was basically like where you dig out the side of or you make like a little narrow canal, on the side of a river, and you can put sticks on the outside so the fish can't jump out or anything. And
you sort of funnel them in so that they want to go in to find the food, and then when they find the food, they have trouble finding their way back out. It's hard for them to actually use their depth perception to see that hole when there's that funnel.
Yeah, that's
my trap.
Exactly. And then you can use those fish as bait or whatever you need. But that's one of the survival techniques I know that definitely it definitely works.
It's a huge aspect of survival techniques that people don't realize, is because a lot of the stuff that gets talked about is active techniques for survival, and they are important, like making fire, making shelter. Those are active things that have to be done. But a huge important thing is finding passive survival techniques, such as rain collection for one example, and then of course a trap is a passive form of hunting, which is vastly more efficient because you're using no energy to get food, and then you can use that energy to either do another task that you have to do or to get more food. So using passive techniques in survival is very important.
Snares are good for that.
Having a survival topic would actually be a really cool topic for the show later on. A survival topic.
Yeah, no, I agree. If we don't have an interview coming up this next week or anything, I'll look at doing that.
Yeah.
I need to arrange more
secret stoves.
Okay, well, before we get enthralled in any more, because dude, the animals are so fascinating.
We could talk about animals for a long time.
They really are amazing stuff, amazing to this world. But let's go ahead and go into our diving depths of today. Jeff, what do you take out of this conversation? Anything?
Just that the animal world around us is very diverse, and a lot of animals are specialty built, but also quite a large number of them are built for different things, like they're omnivorous. Like the bear. The bear is omnivorous. It'll eat meat. It'll eat berries. So it takes its pick of whatever comes along in its diet that feels like it could eat. Whereas other ones are very specific, like a hummingbird. It eats nectar and it takes an occasional insect. Mosquitoes usually, which is fine by me.
Yeah, hummingbirds are awesome.
Hummingbirds are really cool.
Honorable mention, I will say, about an animal I would like to be would be a dragonfly. Dragonflies are cool.
They are cool.
Although not an animal.
It's not. No, it's not. Technically a difference, yes.
Neither is a rhinoceros beetle.
So, okay, my diving depth from this conversation, really fun. I really liked how we talked a lot about species that are here, species that are here right now that we get to live and experience and see for ourselves. And then I really like that we also got to dive into some prehistory, because I really enjoy prehistory, and you can learn so much from it. It's really fun to look at how we can learn about prehistory from modern animals, and we can learn about modern animals from prehistory. It's a really beautiful thing that we're lucky enough to understand. We're lucky enough to even have an inkling of a grasp on the complexity of the natural ecosystem. And I think it's wrong. And I think one of my other diving depths, and I mean, maybe this would be my break point, but I just want to say it now, is that I think that amongst a lot of people, there's kind of a disconnect between the concept of the natural world and our world. But there's a lot less of a disconnect than you think. And I'm a little biased because I live out in we live in a region, and all three of us live in a region where we are very connected to nature, and we get to feel it and see it and observe it and be a part of it in our lives. And we're lucky to get to do that, but anybody can get to do that. Anybody can get to be a part of it and experience it. And I think,
well, even in the cities, there's a lot of wildlife to look at.
Yeah. And I think that there's, yeah, I think it's important to protect and preserve it. And I think it's a lot more important. I think letting go of that disconnect of that we are humans, we have this society, we have this advancement that we're striving towards. It's like we have to look at the natural world and remember that no matter how we look at it, we are a part of it, and we always will be. And if we don't think about it like that, we could lose so much.
Yeah, that's why I am gonna seriously stop trying to eat sushi as much and things, because of just the overall economy of things. It doesn't mean we can't find reasonable solutions. You know, even fishless sushi isn't a bad solution. Like I heard fishless.
I heard a lot of sushi may have parasites in it.
Oh, and there's nothing.
It depends.
Like there's nothing really stopping it from happening.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know where it's sourced. I can't lie about that. So that's the reason. Just knowing the source of your the source of the nature at hand. Being connected with. I think that would be my diving depth, especially is being connected with your ingredients.
Yeah. We didn't talk a ton about food, but you bring up a really good point that I can tie into what I said about one of the big problems about the fishing industry right now is that, because the oceans and fish are a resource. That's a straight up that they are a resource and they are renewable. But right now our motivation, because the oceans are still a huge part of feeding the globe. Lots of other countries eat more fish than we do. They depend on that fish for food. But the issue is that we're still looking at fishing as an industry. We're looking at it as a profit-driven resource. But I think it's because it's important to look at fish as a resource of food, but to try to remember that this ecosystem is fragile and that we need it for food and we need it to stay. And we shouldn't be driven by profiting off of the ocean. We should be driven by using it to our best advantage to be able to advance and to prosper, because humans have been using the ocean to prosper since humans were a thing. Since the first human discovered they could eat a fish, they've been eating fish. It's such a prolific resource throughout history.
Well, and one of the biggest ways to protest is with your money. Don't buy into it. And if restaurants are causing problems with over purchasing or over displaying things, demand better of them. Hey, we suggest you do something. You're affecting the planet right now. Do you really want to live with that as restaurant workers? I know myself as a restaurant worker, I would appreciate customers bringing that kind of stuff up, because I didn't like throwing pounds of calamari out, and these are little octopus, man.
Waste.
This is one of the most intelligent animals in the ocean. We're just fucking
chugging it.
It still grosses me out. It's how do we solve that? We solve that by educating and integrating people within nature. Yeah. So I agree. Yeah.
And force feed people the extra octopus.
Yeah.
If we need to eat grasshoppers for a week, Jeff won't survive, but we'll survive.
I won't survive. I'm allergic. I already know it.
You're allergic to grasshoppers? Tell me how you discovered that.
I'm allergic to crab, shrimp, lobster, and crawdads.
Okay.
And the shell of the insects, which I would be eating, has the same chitin in it as the shells of the other crustaceans.
Yep.
Crustaceans are a bug.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeff would actually struggle.
I can't eat crustaceans. So I cannot eat bugs. For the same reason I can't eat crustaceans, because they're basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Basically, hold the worms for Jeff.
Yes.
Now, worms are different, but I ain't heard
He
Clark
loves
talking
worms.
about eating no worms.
See, if you can't eat a crustacean, can you eat an arachnid? Could you eat a scorpion?
See, I would put them in the same category.
Yeah.
They
still have an exoskeleton.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, quick. If I had to be a bug, as in a arachnid, I'd be a scorpion.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
They are cool. I mostly just want to glow in UV light. That would be so fun for parties, dude. It'd be great.
He's glowing again.
Yeah.
Just be a black widow and scare Taylor.
Yeah.
You're too scary, you little thing. Stay with me.
Yeah.
My roses, yeah. Well, let's go ahead and close this out. We'll skip reflections for true. We reflected a lot, so
yeah.
Thank you all for coming in today on this fabulous Mother's Day, and we hope that you have a wonderful time out there with your family or your day as a whole. So enjoy it. Enjoy the weather. Hopefully it's moderate. So we will catch you guys on the next episode, next adventure, as we go into either talking about survival or maybe potential interviews. So stay tuned, and thank you guys for coming in today. Thank you, ToeNail, for being a part of the show as well. I know he would say, "Good boy, see you later." Talking to you later, not Shrek. Don't confuse me. It's probably like, don't do that again.
Yeah. I heard you imitated me after the podcast.
You imitated me. Yeah, that's a little messed
I don't
up, man.
appreciate.
Is that racism?
Oh my gosh.
Just makes it better that I'm part Scottish.
Yep.
So.
No, we love you, ToeNail, and we want you back.
I'm part Scottish too.
No, ToeNail said thanks for having him. So he hopes to have a headset in the near future to be joining us more on the regular. And we will hopefully see our geologist friend Kamikaze joining the panel soon. He already made excuses for why he didn't wake up at 7. It's being too early. So maybe next time we will.
Yep.
We'll see you. So until then, let's get trekking on, and this has been an intellectual adventure. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
Get out of my swamp.